Hello, everybody, and welcome to Cinema Savvy. It is myself, George, joined by all of our fellow guests from the season so far. This season as a whole. We are, of course, talking the Obi-Wan Kenobi season finale, the last ever episode brackets, we hope, of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and we'll get into that. But joining me, we have Dave, we have Phil, and we have Sam. How are we all doing tonight, people?
Very well, very well. It's lovely to be back and talking Kenobi after missing a couple of weeks. So yeah, I can't wait.
Yes.
Yeah, this is. I had to wait all day. I had a lot of things to get through today, and it was worth the wait. I'm looking forward to talking through it. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, just quite a good, nice, hot, sunny day with lots of Star Wars and Kate Bush for me and work. And yeah, now to sit down and just talk about this very, very interesting episode.
Yes. This is going to be, as we said, not to make it too obvious, a spoiler discussion. So if you haven't seen today's episodes, why? But if you have seen it, then of course, please do comment below your thoughts on the series, on today's episode. Things you loved, things maybe you didn't, things you felt were missed opportunities. We're happy to listen to all of those. So please do comment them along with this. And if you are new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. Kenobi might be going away, but Star Wars won't be. And I'll be discussing that at the end of this episode alongside a lot of other things. So please do check that out. And if you are a fan, if you're curious about what videos we do when we're doing it, you know what about that thumbnail? I don't care. I didn't even put it on my social medias once. Go moan at me on social media, Twitter and Instagram at cinema_savvy, Facebook and letterboxd.com/cinemasavvy. And we've got a link to Redbubble in the description below. I've actually had all the merch arrive today, but it's on my bed, so I can't actually grab that because I should have really prepped for that part. But I have a Cinema Savvy Star Wars hat now. I haven't worn it yet, though, so I hope it's all right. Not the best advert for ourselves, but... that being said, as I mentioned, we are here discussing Kenobi, and I know, Dave, we've not had you on for a few weeks, so I'm actually going to quickly jump in and ask you very quickly, what are your thoughts on parts 4 and 5?
I've been a massive fan of this series from the off. I'm still a massive fan of this series. I really, really enjoyed, now if I get their orders right, 5 was the where they were stuck last week in the hole while Leia was trying to fix the shield doors. I love that. I love the Obi-Wan. I love seeing so many stormtroopers about. It's just a weird thing to see a load of stormtroopers in suits. Love that. I've just been, the whole series it's not missed a beat for me. I think I said after this one finished that I'd really love Disney Plus to now just make it so I can watch it as a movie, not an edit of what we've seen, but just literally take the credits out and let me watch it as one. Which it seems destined to be done, but at some point I will see it that way because I think it's made for it. But yeah, I've loved the last couple of episodes. I've really enjoyed watching it, and it's built up to a perfect crescendo. Hopefully,
Yeah, 100% with you on this. I mean, we've had ourselves doing the other one, so across this video tonight, we've got everybody that's been on our videos, and jump into the comment section with Martin with us tonight evening. Martin, I hope you enjoyed the episode. As usual, my friend, please do comment your thoughts on those. But I guess the best place to start with today, and we're going to try and do this in the right order. I know the opening scene was Reva on Tatooine, but we're gonna do that after this first big one because it makes a little bit more sense to go where we do. But if we want to kickstart coming into, actually, even before coming in today, how did we all feel about the 50-minute runtime? I know it doesn't mean much, but there was highly interesting debates going online with 1 hour 33. I think that was a Canadian cinema, the one that was doing the Q&A with Deborah Chow and Hayden Christensen, and then it was doing the rounds. It could be 1 hour 33 minutes. I think with all our individual chats, I think I've had at least all of you saying, I think it could be, maybe 63 and a 33-minute Q&A, but we got 50 minutes. And I was like, wow, there's lots to fit in. But I think they did a good job rounding it all up. And that'd be something we maybe speak about. But just really quickly, you guys, how did you feel the running time? Did you want it to be longer? Or do you think it was just about right for what we got?
I really hoped it was going to be longer than 50 minutes. When I saw 50 minutes as well, I was like, oh, okay. But then it was kind of, as we got to the episode and they were kind of finishing off story points, I was like, how long have we got left? Oh, we've still got like another 30 minutes. We're fine. We've got 15 minutes left. We're okay. It's so they fit everything they needed to in really well, and it was a really tight packed. Deborah Chow has done an amazing job of directing this. Like, I'm probably speaking about her a lot as we go through this, but I thought it was absolutely incredible the way they scheduled it out. So they've built this story, and all they had to do in this was finish off plot points, and they did each one superbly. So 50 minutes was shorter than I would have liked, but they filled it really well.
I actually thought almost as a bit when we were talking about it in our own individual chats within an hour and a half. I wanted it to be that. I almost think 50 was almost too long. I think it's just on that edge of they dragged out a couple of pieces here and there. I think that could have been maybe a bit short. So that's me nitpicking some pacing here and there, I guess. But on the whole, no, absolutely fine with it. And the thing, if it had been an hour and a half, that's essentially a movie. We have 6 episodes, which is essentially a movie. You didn't need it to be stretched out. And the pieces that they then did, the set pieces we're going to talk about, I mean, come on. Like, nailed it. So, yes, I was fine with it being 50. All I asked, so I knew I wasn't going to get to watch it this morning like the guys, so all I said to them was, give me the runtime. Give me if there's an end credit scene or not. That's all I ask. And then got the message this morning, like, cracking. I was like, okay, 50 minutes. It's on that cusp between, is it going to be a film? Is it going to be a TV episode? And it felt fine. Any longer, maybe a bit stretched, but no, this was done right.
Yeah, I woke up early enough to be, exiting the app and then opening it up again just to see the episode load on. So when it did say 50 minutes, I was a bit like, okay, because I did expect it to be longer. I was expecting, 60 odd minutes, but I was like, you know what, we'll see how it goes. I am surprised by, I think on the whole, the majority of it felt, I think it did feel correct. Nothing felt super rushed and nothing felt super dragged out or anything. It was one of, I think, a few episodes where it did feel like everything was kind of correct here. And I'm sure we'll speak about it later when we, talk about the full series. But I kind of feel like if this was, originally based off a movie that got turned into a series, then I think you can definitely tell where in the series things have been padded out. But I feel like the beginning and ending was kind of mostly set. And I feel like you can definitely feel that. I think those episodes probably have the best pacing for me in the series. But no, I think 50 minutes did work with what they did.
No, really well said. And we've got Martin in the comments, which has surprised me, but I fully respect this. I haven't seen today's episode. I don't mind spoilers. I enjoy these things more and know what to look out for. I mean, there's not too much to look out for this one, Martin. Just pretty much a big duel, which we're going to get to in a lot of other things. And if you check Sam's background, you'll catch out our thumbnail as well, because we do have a qui-gon appearance. Actually, sorry, guys, before we really get into this, I'm actually going to show you this. I think I've sent this to everybody, but I'm really proud of myself. I made this meme yesterday, and I tweeted it yesterday, if you want the receipts. And the Vince McMahon overreacting on a bit awkward now with his dodgy his dodgy mistress stuff. But first, if you know the meme format, I put rematch of the century. Not there was, but just the name for it. Qui-Gon Jinn returns, says hello there to Luke. Obi-Wan does the 2-finger point pose against Darth Vader. I was 5 minutes away from having 2 out of 4. And the one that I thought was really ballsy was saying hello there to Luke. And we'll get into that later on, but the last 2 minutes, when that fought, it's like playing bingo, isn't it? Like, I absolutely got the row, and I was completely off my head because of what happened. Not just that I predicted it.
And as someone who used to work at a bingo hall, I would have been very happy to be the one to say that you've won, George. But
as long as the last number is 66, we're all good there.
Oh no! I mean, yeah. Let's get into some of it. I'm not going to keep talking about Twitter, but that's maybe a good reason why I should follow us. Didn't put Instagram though, even though that's ironically the picture one. But where are we going to start? Let's start with Obi-Wan on the ship. I mean, we spoke about pacing. This is why this jumps in my head. He's done and dusted within 5 minutes. We're off. We start with the chase, which we're all going to probably say we absolutely love the fact that we had quite clearly a model. Not a CGI, well, not Obi-Wan ship, but we clearly had a model of a Star Destroyer. Phil's already wetting himself with excitement. That looked phenomenal. Like, the moment that came up, I was like, oh, wow, okay, like, we're not, moving forward. We're going to really get into this. It didn't just end with them traveling elsewhere. And what I really appreciate is, again, it goes to that runtime, a 50-minute runtime. We know we're going to have a duel. We know there's a lot of stuff to tie up. And we're down on the ground within 5 minutes, ready for the duel. And I just loved this because we had individual, not character arcs per se, but we got to say goodbye to Roken. We had maybe the first goodbye, which we thought could be the final goodbye with Leia, which we'll probably speak about again at the ending. But really, where we approach this episode, we just need to get to the duel, and not in a rude, I don't want story way, but again, it didn't feel like there was a minute wasted, and just the whole Lola subplot as well was quite nice because it gave an excuse to go see her again. But how do we all feel with him before we get to the new planet?
You know what I loved? I loved the echoes of The Last Jedi with the ships going one. The big one is going after the small one. They can't catch it because it's bigger, so bombarding it with lasers. And it was like, oh, I've seen this before. And so yeah, it was actually a really nice cut. Now I liked how it was like, look, we're doomed. We're not really going to get this planet, but he's trying to sell it. Ruko's trying to sell it on. We're just going to fix the hyperdrive. Just give us a minute. We'll get it with this planet. No one's just like, you've got no chance, have you? It's like, nope, we're not going to make it. So it was really nice to get that first goodbye to Leia, and you kind of knew it wasn't going to be the final to goodbye at that point. There was no way they would leave it at that way. Yep, I got the ship, and she went back to Alderaan. It was fine. So yeah, it was nice. They didn't take too much time over it. That were like, yeah, we're going to do this. I need to get off here. And, you knew at that point Vader was going to turn that beautiful model around and follow Obi-Wan. He was never going to just go after the refugees at all at that point.
Yeah, for me, Rogan or O'Shea Jackson Jr. was actually the surprise of the show in terms of Cube is well known. He's been in an awful lot of films, of course, at the beginning of NWA. And if you've seen Straight Out of Compton, he is, in that, of course, playing his dad. And he does a phenomenal job in that. And that one yes, it was nepotism in that way, but they did interview a few people, and he, of course, had it right. This was him in a completely different role. This was him just acting, playing a character. And I thought that over the last few episodes, I've gotten to really like him as a character in a way of just yes, he is disposable. Like, you don't know where he ends up, don't know what he does. But at the same time, it's like you're not the story moves along with him a little bit, and I like that. And yeah, this is one of those scenes now that if everyone who's ever watched the channel or watched any of our previous videos, when I've talked about my love for Star Wars, knows that I fell in love with Star Wars with the beginning of episode 4 with the Star Destroyer going down from the top of the screen, blasting at the Tantive. Well, this gave me echoes of that, along with, as Dave said, The Last Jedi. And anyone who ever criticizes The Last Jedi ever again, when it comes to that particular part, is like, did you enjoy Kenobi? They go, yes. Did you enjoy the beginning? Yes. Here you go. Exactly the same thing, but done actually almost just as good, if not better. But still, point stands.
Don't say there's fuel. They literally just don't say that we're running out of fuel. That's all
exactly.
It really is. It's like,
I don't say the
fuel
lasers can't reach.
Hyperdrive.
Yeah. That's all I say. Don't say lasers don't reach. It's done. It's fantastic. And as you said, the model. Yes. As a fan, love it.
Yeah, I mean, my only comment for the Last Jedi comparison is that, of course, but I mean, under 5 minutes here was fine for me. I did not need to see any more of that ship being chased. That's all I'm going to say on that. But same with the Tantive. We didn't see that chase very long, but I did see the echoes as well, and especially with the Tantive, I think having Darth Vader, on a Star Destroyer chasing a ship, it's one of the best, things to see in anything Star Wars related. I just love how the Grand Inquisitor was just so done. Yes. He was like, come on, like, leave it. After everything that's gone on, he's like, just leave it. But of course, we all know Vader wouldn't let, Obi-Wan go. But no, it was a nice goodbye to Leia. I think, is it Rogan or Rogan? I can't remember.
Rogan.
How he's Rogan.
Yeah.
Like, I think it was, I do like his character. I am intrigued about whether he will appear again. He could, because Andor is set after this, is it?
Yes.
So he could appear in that, maybe. Like, he just may be one of those rebel, officers or people that we've just not seen before. So I'm excited to see what happens, because I think we need a few more of those types of characters alongside the established ones that we have. But yeah, I think it was good to kind of end the Leia kidnapping thing here. I think for me, it had gone on a bit too long for my tastes anyway, although most of the time it was done successfully. I think it was fine to just kind of say, do you know what, this is done, and we need to get to the final hurdles now. So let's get that out of the way, let's get them away, and let's move on and focus, because now it's just the two big things, which is Obi-Wan and Luke.
No, really well said. I really want to bring the Grand Inquisitor. Now you've said it. Shout out to Scotty Jero, from Bombadcast. He tweeted, honestly, probably 9 o'clock this morning, when Vader's speaking with Grand Inquisitor, when Vader basically says, no, we're going for him, and he commands it. If you watch the corner of the screen, it's a faint blur, but Rupert Friend, as the Grand Inquisitor, pulls the most ridiculous face, and it is honestly quality. it's almost like a football thing. Like he sticks his lips out, like really awkward, sort of, not in a mocking way, but it's just go on Scotty's
like,
Twitter.
Okay, like
It's
sure.
like that, and it's so funny because we've had so little of him, and I guess in the last week he's been a bit of a meme on social media. They're all clipping his hello to third sister, and he's just become a bit of like a meme icon. And I'm loving that, he's gone from being severely mocked in appearance from the first trailer, now becoming like the kind of meme he should be in Star Wars. And listen, there wouldn't be Star Wars prequel or Star Wars if you're not making memes out of everyone that turns up. So that's fantastic. Go and have a look at that, people at home. But yeah, I mean, listen, we get to the do we do the ground? No, let's before we get to the first duel. Oh, it's the only duel. We do have a 2-on-1 handicap match against Reva later on, though. Let's talk about Reva landing on Tatooine. I can notice the opening scene, so we sort of jumped over it, but it just sort of fits up into where her story is going. This is an interesting one. Starting off the episodes with her already there, I've got no issue just assuming she just got on her ship and went. I'm not bothered. I don't need to see her traveling in hyperspace. I don't see her landing. I know she's covering up her wound with a towel. A lot of people are not towel, sorry, like the scarf things. A lot of people are in the whole. I mean, Phil, you spoke last week about doing Qui-Gon dirty with the stabbing and the wounds. I think Star Wars explained in a great video, kind of explaining that it's just something they keep saying that dark side people live off revenge. But I didn't see her going all out for the kill on Luke, and we'll get to the ending of that later, which is one actually my favorite scene in the whole series. But just knowing, again, they didn't waste time. Straight to her on Tatooine, her finding Owen, we know, okay, something's going to go down. And I guess if we move into a bit of Owen before they arrive, when Owen finds out, you get the whole setup with Luke. You've got Beru. Shout out to, I can never pronounce her surname, Bonnie P.S. or Piece. Don't know how to pronounce it. I'm sorry if she's listening. It was nice to get her back on screen because we didn't see her in episode 1. And we didn't really see her in episode 3 of the actual film. So she actually had something to do, which I applaud because, I mean, Sam, we spoke earlier, like, we read that she'd got out of a mad cult 5 years ago. It was like a really bad cult as well. She got her life back on track. She did no acting, no music stuff. And this has been the first thing for her since. So it's a kind of like welcome return. Listen, there's not many stories you can do with Aunt Beru, but if she's going to maybe do some more stuff, that's great for her career. And obviously she exposed a lot about that cult. So also I hope she's like safe because that sort of stuff does get weird. But yeah, how do we feel with the Reva storyline?
It was, I think you're right. We didn't need to see how she got Tatooine. Last episode, the last thing she heard was Tatooine, so we knew that's where she was going. So when she arrived, I was a bit like, oh, she's there already. Okay, we're going to get that. And say she just asked straight away she wanted to find Owen. And then I really liked that we got to catch up with Luke and Owen. And Luke had broken the land speeder and he needed parts. So it was kind of that little, you saw the bit of history that the Howies, they're obviously going a lot of times to get parts for this. And I just think Uncle Owen, it just gets better and better every time you see him. He plays such a good part. I just think it echoes the original actor so much. I can't remember his name. Joel Edgerton, sorry. That's yes. That's right, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I literally couldn't think of his name. So yeah, he played the part so well in this. And when you get to that, but then I love the Beru stuff. The fact that she's over prepared and Owen has no idea she's hiding shotguns around the place in walls. Just like, yeah, I've got the guns. Don't you worry. Like, what? Oh, all right then. I love how she was just ready to protect her home and her family, and she didn't even need to be told to do stuff. She was like, yeah, I know what we're doing. It's all right. I know what's coming. So yeah, I loved her involvement. I thought it was a really great start to kind of push us on for that story. And like, it really helped that obviously we hadn't seen Luke in that from the first episode. Obviously the trailers mistold us that we're going to get a Luke story and little bait and switch and we got the Leia, but it was nice just so right. And now this is going to be happening. And while the battle's going on, you kind of know what's happening in Tatooine as well and how important that is playing in the whole story. I thought it was a great start.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And the one thing I want to add on to that, Dave, because I genuinely can't add on much. I think they've done it perfectly. Was it would have been so easy, a big cop out and fan service if they'd used Watto to be the
Watto?
Yeah, to be the shop owner.
Oh, to be the shop.
Yeah,
I mean,
if they use Watto, like it.
No, it's not a cop out. I want it now.
You put it in our heads now. I didn't even think of that.
I mean, amazing! That would have been the
Oh,
thumbnail
oh,
right there.
the you want a Wonga guy. I mean, that's what you want a Wonga.
I go. Yep. Yeah. No, I'm kind of glad they didn't. But now I talk about like actually, yeah, it would have been cool. And they sort of round out to the story of the Dad Watto. No, I agree though. I love the fact that it was just end of last episode, Tatooine. Next episode, there. It's done. It's that level of like you get in films more so than you get in TV shows. You get the assumption, you get the suspension of disbelief where it's I know they have travels. We don't need to see it. We know they have just done it. It doesn't need to be an explanation. And I think one of the reasons talking about the runtime at the beginning, there's no bloat in this episode. There is no padding out to make it 50 minutes. It's just right. And this is one part of that where you don't need to see her travel. You know she's already got there. The more important traveling is Obi-Wan and Vader. That's the more important traveling. It's not because they have a connection through the Force. They have a connection. Their story is the story. This is a nice subplot to end Reva's arc, give parallels to what's happening with Vader and Obi-Wan, but also for Luke, which I must admit, of course, this is the first time we've heard Luke speak who isn't Mark Hamill in terms of actually on screen. Not the digitized version. This is a young Luke, obviously, and it's really cool. I thought he played him all right.
Do you speak in Rebels? Sorry to jump ahead of Sam. I know he runs across the land, doesn't he? He runs across the farm.
Yeah.
Sorry, ignore me. Sorry, Sam.
But to go back to say with Joel Edgerton as well, he played it fantastic. He's got that Luke shout down perfectly. I mean, again, same. Actually, Beru's done it as well, but no, he has got it spot on. And really thought they moved on perfect. I can't add on too much, Dave. Really can't.
Yeah, I mean, part of me was at least wanted to know what Reva had done to kind of like help prepare herself for this, and then just maybe a little bit more about how she's kind of like sustained herself, because I mean that takes a lot of energy, like a lot of energy. And I know we've had the throwaway line from the Grand Inquisitor about revenge and whatnot, but it didn't affect me watching it. It didn't put me off not knowing or anything. So yes, that was good. I really appreciate the performances from Joel Edgerton and from Bonnie Pierce. I'm just going to go with that. I think they've both done so well. I mean, we already know Joel Edgerton anyway because he's had more screen time, and I think he's got the Owen grump down. I think he's totally got that vibe. Bonnie really surprised me. I think that was one of the big surprises because she didn't do that much in episode 2 and 3, and because Beru's really, I can't say she's a nothing character in A New Hope, but because there's not much further focus is more on Owen, you really don't get a sense of like what she's apart from kind of just mother figure, and that's it. So the fact that she's she kind of kicks into gear and kind of goes, right, okay, I'm gonna do this. I think what this show has been good at, and we'll probably mention it a bit later as well, is just what these parents will do who aren't the blood parents, or at least they aren't they're the actual mother and fathers. They are these people who've taken in these children and they'll do anything for them. But we'll see, compared to Bale, who really can't do anything himself like that. He has to get with people to do it. Owen and Beru only have themselves, and the fact that Beru does have like a hideaway to get these guns out, and the fact that she's like, I'm protecting this boy, it just gave me like a complete new respect for the character and for the actress. And after learning about what had happened to the actress and that it had been so long since she'd been in front of the camera, I thought the fact that she did so well, I just think was tremendous. So it was a really good start from that point of view as well as for that subplot.
Did anyone else get any Hot Fuzz vibes of who's packing? Farmers moms?
No, but now I do. Now you've said it, yeah.
My only sort of question is, where's he? We've not seen him. We don't know if he died. Clee Glass is an unknown status man. Not that I need the supporting characters to know, but you know, he became a bit of a meme, and he was a good one. And
Should just
you know,
seen his hover chair off in the side with a little crutch on it, like Tiny Tim.
well, I was just there, like, I was like, what happened to him? Like, yeah, and then Aunt Beru's like, this is my home. It's like, sorry, it's actually your husband's dad's home because we've not seen him die yet. So be careful, Beru, unless they like stashed him away somewhere. They just left him for the Tusken Raiders to take again.
Yeah,
But
Beru killed him. That's what happened. She killed him. She was like, "This homestead is mine." You know, this is.
I don't blame it. It looks like a lovely home. It's a lovely home, isn't it?
Oh,
And
it
if
looks
anyone's
great.
played the new Lego Star Wars, when Reva's like battering them later, I'm like, I crossed that bridge getting my golden bricks. But yeah, we get to go back to Tatooine again. I mean, we've said that a lot over the last few years, but in the literal sense of this episode, we'll be going back there again. But let's talk. Okay, let's just talk about it. Obi-Wan versus Vader. Whoa. The 2-finger point pose returned. The most British accent I've ever heard from Ewan McGregor came through in that moment. But I've just got to say, and I don't want to split the duel up in certain moments. I'm sure we'll speak about moments within it, but just as a whole, you know, in the words of someone like Off the Apprentice or Good Ramsay, it was delightful. There's been a lot of things I've seen online. Some people moaning about the soundtrack, which why wasn't Duel of the Fates played? Well, it wasn't played in their duel in Mustafar, was it? So don't moan at that. Battle of the Heroes is another conversation, but I just loved it. I was, you know, head in hands, doesn't happen often, just sat there processing it, watching it. You know, the fact in 2022 we're seeing Obi-Wan Kenobi outright dueling Darth Vader. And I thought, which has been the same for the entire Disney era, the duel was fantastic. It wasn't overdone. This was just two people trying to kill each other. And that hasn't, I mean, episode 7 probably did their best, if I'm being honest, of the new era until today. But it was just such a wonderful moment. And it was, you know, again, knowing that it's Ewan, knowing that it's Hayden. And it wasn't just, they didn't just say, oh, we want to have the two of them fight and we'll make a story around it. Because it wasn't over the top. It wasn't edgy. It wasn't acrobatic. These are older people and they wouldn't be at the level they were, if that makes sense, like physically. I mean, one's a robot now, but just generalizing the duel, how does everyone feel? We can go into certain bits after, but just as a whole, I absolutely love this today. And the crazy thing is, it wasn't my favorite part of the episode, which not in a bad way either. I just thought this was like capping off a wonderful series for me.
To get them battling again after, obviously we got the one in episode 2 where we got the little battle, which wasn't really a battle. It was more just Vader pushing, bullying Obi-Wan about and really wanting to burn him for a bit. This was a different take. I loved the start of it, like, I will do what I must, and just it's like, oh, call back already. It was just them coming together, and it's still being a continuation of that battle from episode 2. Vader was the more powerful in the start of the battle, that he still had the upper hand until Obi-Wan went super dirt remover when we get a bit later on. But and bouldering around like Donkey Kong was amazing. But yeah, it came together so well that you had people thinking, well, when they go to meet again and New Hope and it's all that, it's like, it didn't matter to me. This still makes perfect sense for that. Yeah. After this, it was perfectly weighted. It was brought Obi-Wan back to being the Jedi he was, that we knew from episode 3, and maybe even a bit more powerful than he was when he's opened himself fully back to the Force to know what he has to do. I had chills through this. I had moments of horror. I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
I thought we were going to get our qui-gon appearance before that happened. I thought we'd get the preparation of, you know, I don't know if I had the strength to do this, Master. Then it would have been a reassurance of you must do what you feel is right, of course, kind of moment. And then, yeah, gets into the duel itself. Many tears were shed. Many moments would just be head in hands, just watching it. In awe. And I think my favorite part of the entire, I'm gonna get onto the big helmet splitty bit later because that was my entire favorite moment of the entire series. The bit that made the duel perfect for me was the Obi-Wan and Vader difference, with Vader crushing the ground underneath him and wanting to absolutely annihilate Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan, his response of floating all the rocks, because being a Jedi isn't about floating rocks apparently, but it just is. And just lobbing them at him was just this. It was the violence versus necessity mixed into just this perfect duel. And the one thing that won't get much credit outside of a few people, I guess, is the way it was lit, the way it was shot. We know about the volume. We know how they've been doing a lot of things. The one thing that Lucas tries to do with episodes 2 and 3 especially was push technology. We had it begin in Mando, and look where it's got us for Obi-Wan, and it's my reaction is just that I have no words for it, and it just was done. The lighting was dark. You knew it was oppressive. You knew what was about to happen. Vader was just ominous. And once again, because we'll save it for later, no Imperial March, no nothing. I would have liked a bit of Battle of Heroes. Yes, that would have been a nice touch. But the soundtrack has been flawless from start to finish. And I think this doesn't have it, but the duel itself outdoes the music here. Battle of Heroes was the set piece of the prequels. Duel of the Fates arguably is for some, but for me, Battle of Heroes is that centerpiece. This is the centerpiece of the Disney era for me. This was done perfectly. Anyone who's a fan of Rebels, we have Ahsoka versus Vader, end of Series 2. Yeah, I hate what they did for Series 4, but that's a rant for another day entirely. No, this was done just so. I mean, yeah, I'm at a loss for words.
Yeah, I don't have too much to add, at least about the first half of this battle anyway. But I think I love that it was on this kind of like neutral location, that it was on this planet that we really don't know anything about. But I just kind of love the vibe that it gave off. Really mysterious, kind of like you don't know what's going to happen. Kind of like in the battle, you're not really too sure how it's going to go down. Again, the colors were just brilliant. It was just so good to see these lights on their faces, and I think it comes much more into play later on during the short conversation. But no, just super well. And I think just adding to when the ground opens up and when Obi-Wan's kind of protecting himself, I got major Luminara and Barriss vibes from the original Clone Wars cartoon where they're on Ilum and have to hold up the rocks that fall on him. And that was the first thing I thought of when I saw him in there. So for me, that was just like a really nice thing as well, to just kind of like see an actual live action version of that. Like, you are completely surrounded. If you lose control, then you are going to die. So yeah, it was great to just see him take control and to kind of, be the step up from, a massive step up from where he was a few episodes before, but then to kind of just find something within himself that maybe wasn't there before, that, maybe in Revenge of the Sith, because of the constraints of being in the Order and what had happened with the war and then the sudden betrayal of the clones, that, perhaps he was affected, but now he's completely doing this for himself and for these two children, and that's it. So I just love that he's got to this point. I probably would have liked it to see him amp up a bit more and maybe train a bit more, but I think based on what happened in episode 5, it's at least a clear sign of the direction that he was going to go in anyway.
Yeah, it's really well said. I want to kind of jump back to Phil's point. You mentioned the lighting. This has been a really interesting thing today. So a lot of people criticizing the show more so for having the duel darkly lit and like a sort of grey planet. And normally I'd understand that, but my logic for this, I don't know if anyone else is in the same boat or if they're against it. I said just comment along because I'm really curious about this. I feel that similar to episode 3, the lighting in this series, it's almost as if the lightsabers are doubling for natural lighting now. That whatever, I mean, it's not tech, it's how they do the lightsabers in the new Disney era, how practical they can make them. But it felt so strong. It's like they were lighting the scene. I'm sure it probably wasn't the case. I'm just curious how anyone else feels about it, because I loved it, the fact it was a sort of newish planet. It wasn't Mustafar, which would have been my main issue. I don't know if anyone saw that awful teaser poster doing the rounds. Someone did a fan art poster of them dueling on Mustafar and a foreign Disney Plus
it's
official
better than
account.
one of the official posters we got, that's for damn sure.
Yeah. But it was just like when the official Disney Plus account for one country retweets it and every clickbait's like, we now have it confirmed they're going to Mustafar. I was like, no, they're not. Like, just delete the tweet and just stop saying it. Just say you tweeted fan art or something. So I just want to get that gripe out of my head. But yeah, I mean, the duel. Let's talk. Let's talk. I mean, before we even get to Vader getting buried, one of my favorite moments is because I've played a lot of Battlefront again recently. I've been back on Hero Showdown, so sort of one-on-ones are my sort of thing at the moment. The moment when Obi-Wan goes to like drop the rock on Vader, and Vader just yeets it like 200 foot away, like you're playing. You know the new Lego Star Wars game when you just throw something with the Force. That was Darth Vader today. Like he just didn't care, and I thought it was such a great moment because although Obi-Wan, he's back in the business, he is powerful, and he's standing up for himself. It's just still showing that Vader's that guy. Like he is absolutely like at the top of his game, but just the power and the threat, and you still feel there's fear within Kenobi. But when you get to the burying scene, and this is such a great moment, it's the flashbacks when you start with the voiceovers of Anakin, of Vader, but it's when you get the kids flashing and you get Luke, you get Leia, and to me, one of the beautiful things about this show is how intrinsic it has made not Luke and Leia to the story, because we know they're important. It's how important they are to Kenobi and the effects of that in this series. Now, obviously, we'll get to the meetings later on. But to me, it's just amped Kenobi to another level because maybe I'm on myself this, but when you think of episode 4, think Alec Guinness, it's like, yeah, he was just there to watch over Luke and take him and train him. Whereas with this series, I felt like we now understand his personal affection to each of them. Although he doesn't know them, you understand like he is paternal to them, that with his relationship with Anakin, and I understand that's something you can't do in 1977, but it's just been really fascinating for me to see that explored and having them be the reason, like he gets, out of the rubble, just the barrage of rocks at Vader, which is just as a visual is just stunning, and Vader just like walking through it, kind of, punching some of them. I just thought, what a moment. And I think when he just lifts with rocks, that just transcends the show for me. That's when you know like, this isn't just like Obi-Wan. This isn't Obi-Wan back. This is the guy that's going to become a Force ghost that's so intrinsic with the Force that he's got this new layer of strength and power. I don't know what you'd call it. His power's not really a Jedi thing, is it? But how do we feel about? I mean, am I overstating that scene? Like, I just loved it, and that was when I started getting teary-eyed. That was my first time today.
It's really nice that they've done it because you felt that at the start he's been watching Luke and he's been keeping himself at a distance other than dropping off surprise toys and things like that and surprising him with random Santa Claus presents. But then he's had this relationship with Leia, which I think has made him become the paternal figure to them both, that he realized it was more than just watching them. Like he says to Owen at the end, it's about him being a boy, about him growing up, and what happens in the future will happen, and we'll deal with that then. It seemed to feel that more because the time he'd spent with Leia, and I think she had this really deep emotional impact on him, and I've certainly felt that over that. Even though it's been like a short time she's been by his side, you could feel him growing that father figure all the way through with her. The more he's spent time with her, rescuing her and her comforting him as well as him comforting her. So yeah, I totally got that, and I love the moment where he starts, you're right, the voiceover, and then it became the children that he was seeing, and that's what then just brought this massive power out of him. The Force just, he opened himself up in a way that we've never seen Obi-Wan let himself go before. He has very much been that regimented Jedi who followed the rules, who was losing Qui-Gon Jinn as a master because he was such a stickler for what the Jedi Council wanted him to do. And I think this was him breaking free of that, the binds that were holding him still, probably from the old days of the Republic. And I just thought it's an amazing moment. It was an emotional moment, and it gave us next level Obi-Wan.
I've said it before, I'll say it again. This was the Vader I've always envisioned. This is what I've always wanted to see. Vader was always, he just emanated power and fear, and by the time you get episode 6, Vader's kind of what you see here, but And that's Return of the Jedi. This part 6 Vader. This is Vader who's gone, finally I have my match. He was teasing him in part 2. He's been hunting him in 3, 4, and 5. And now he's got him. He's like, now I have a worthy challenge. Now it's worth my time killing you. That's the energy he gives off. It's I have hunted you. I now get a chance to kill you. And now you're worthy of my time to die. And that's the energy he then exudes there. And it's the proper overconfidence. I know Palpatine says it to Luke. Your overconfidence. So Luke says Palpatine, your overconfidence is your weakness. Well, it is for Vader as well. And Vader is his arrogance, his blind rage, his anger, his fuel of destroying everything that he felt betrayed him. There's so much to it. And as George, you were alluding to before we came on air, watching A New Hope after this, it takes a completely different form. Now you have to do Kenobi into Rogue One into 4, and my God, do you get the best story arc for Star Wars? It's just incredible. And this is that Vader, as I said, that I've always wanted to see. And it's just, when we get to the end of the duel and the speeches, phenomenal.
Yeah, I think for Obi-Wan and for Vader, I think the important thing is that even if you just go from episode 3 to episode 4, you see these characters and you understand where they are at that point because of the span of time. You can let that go. You don't need to see the different phases. However, now that we've got this opportunity, we can see it. You see more of the progression. You don't see that, just because Anakin is Darth Vader at the end of episode 3 doesn't mean that as Vader he evolves and changes throughout that time between the films. And we see that that change through all the characters throughout the films. But to see where they started at the beginning of this series and to the end, some have more dramatic evolutions than others. But I think for Vader's point of view, I think he does realize that he's still learning, that he's still not at his peak level. He may be stronger than almost like 99% of everyone else in this galaxy, but there's literally 1 or 2 people like Obi-Wan and the Emperor that he can't defeat where he's at. So I think you see the difference in what he's doing in the episode 3 fight compared to now. But then also with Obi-Wan, you were seeing someone who was kind of, it's like going through the different stages of grief. And I feel like I just need to hear Jamie Lee Curtis saying trauma in my ear. But seriously battling it and overcoming it. And, I think a lot of it is just kind of realizing that these having these connections with these kids, and especially Leia, I think, he knew their parents for half of the parents' lives, from when they was both so young. So to see them both die essentially, in front of him at such a young age, and knowing that these kids are what's left, he wants these children to have, as smooth an upbringing as possible. But both of them, for completely different reasons, are going to have difficulty in that. But he wants them both to have a normal childhood. But obviously, Leia, in the position that she's in as a politician's daughter, is probably a prime person of interest. Which is part of the reason why it makes this story a bit more believable, because I feel like it could have been anyone kidnapping Leia. It didn't need to be an Inquisitor's orders. It could have been anyone. But no, I love that he's kind of understood the relationship and realized that these children mean so much more than just being the children of these people. They are good people, and the way that they are going, it appears that it's going to lead them to a great place, which obviously it does. But no, it's just great to see that, and I think that's one of the strengths of this, is to really establish not only the relationships and characters, but also just the development of them in a very natural way. Nothing from the kids, people have said about Leia, but nothing feels forced to me. It feels like, this is what a 10-year-old would be like.
Yeah, and that's what 10-year-olds are like. And then we've actually got a good comment with Martin. Something he can't get his head around is that Leia doesn't know Obi-Wan and New Hope, but yet she's this massive traumatic adventure when she was 10. So this is an interesting one, because this has floated around a lot, and I do appreciate a lot of people have said this. My own personal, I mean, again, I've seen episode 4 today, so I'm actually going to encourage everyone to do watch A New Hope over next week if you've seen this. Obviously, do you guys remember the meme? That'd be like when you never knew Obi-Wan but named your son Ben. And then there was the one of Leia looking sad at the table after Obi-Wan died of Luke, and they're like, she didn't know him. To me, if you look at the prison scene when Luke says he's a Ben Kenobi, she like screams Ben Kenobi and gets up. And now whether or not there's not history there, but what I would say, I think the two-word terrorism, breaking canon is the new selling point to loads of shit channels like Geeks and Gamers and Star Wars Theory. What I would say is that I don't think any canon has been broken. I think there's a kind of point where it's not observational. What's the word I'm looking for? What's the word? I've forgotten it. But essentially, I think you can understand that it's just in the message on the hologram. It doesn't make it clear she knows him, but off the reaction in person, it's different. So again, I guess that's left for everyone's own taking. For me personally, I don't see it as issues. With any of you guys, really quickly?
No, I think it's perfectly natural that the message that she sends out on R2 is a very diplomatic message, going as a request, like an invitation, rather than to a friend. And you're right, the he with Ben Kenobi, and that's she absolutely knows him. I don't think this breaks canon in any way, shape, or form. I think it plays really nicely into who she knew was coming and who she was sending that message to.
Yeah, you also have to remember that message could potentially get intercepted. So it has to seem, as much as you do get the help the Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope, you have to remember it has to seem that she doesn't know him. It has to seem distant, as in because you served my father in the Clone Wars. Well, the Clone Wars is 20 years ago at this particular point. So it is a diplomatic message as best she can do it, whilst also pleading for his help. And then, as you said, as soon as she's Ben Kenobi, she jumps up, names her son Ben. There are so many points to it that it doesn't break canon for me. In fact, it actually reinforces a lot of the canon, especially for Ben Solo now being called Ben. It actually properly solidifies that. So rather than it breaking canon for me, it actually does the opposite.
Yeah, I think they're very careful with what they do. Like, they're not silly, they're not stupid. They know what has happened. They'll try and weave it as best as possible. And I know it will be brought up later, I'm sure, with Luke as well, because I've seen more comments about Luke than about Leia. But with Leia in particular, I think that their end scene later on. I'll mention this now, but the way that they say goodbye and the way she says Obi-Wan and not Ben makes it seem like, okay, she's put on like her facade, like she's she understands the position, she understands that this needs to go no further, in terms of what has just happened, this journey that they've been on, that needs to not be mentioned. But they both know what happened, Bail knows what, like they all know what happened, but it doesn't need to be shared anywhere. So she can keep that to herself. And you see in her qualities throughout the film, she's not easily pushed. She will keep as neutral as possible. She will not react in an extreme way for the majority of the things. You think of Alderaan, you think of you think of the death of her father and just everything that's gone on, the position that she's in, her ship being taken over, her meeting Darth Vader, so there's a lot of stuff there that counteracts that what people are saying, that says, well, actually, she reacted like this, and this is the reason. For me, it's relatively straightforward. But I think a lot of people want Disney to, break canon so that they can moan about 100 something videos and moan about it and feel correct.
One of those, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, my favorite ones. Obviously, if you've heard of Star Wars Theory, you've heard of him, but I don't want to do a side tangent about ranting, but after all these years, like the world ganged up on it. He got a bit of criticism for his ridiculous takes, and he started moaning on Twitter saying how he's done is getting bullied. I was like, mate, you've never been bullied. You have an army of followers who you're happy to spew racist stuff with and about and invite racist channels on, and you're going to cry that a couple of people have called you out for it. And now click of the finger, everyone's going for him now. Star Wars Theory, a channel that doesn't actually do theories, they just cry and moan. Watch Star Wars Explained, who actually explains stuff. You think it's in the name, in the title, wouldn't you? Imagine naming your channel after something, not actually having videos on the channel of what you're about.
Yeah, well, I
seriously.
mean, I've seen some of his videos in the past, and I've seen some of the theories that he's had, and for some, I've been like, I appreciate that, and I think he does have good, thoughts on things. However, then it's your audience and what you do about that, and I think it's important as a creator to at least, not, put everyone under one umbrella. There are people out there in every corner who are going to say something bad, and as long as you address it, then you're not being ignorant about it. But if you're being ignorant, then that's not helping anything, and in fact it makes things worse.
Yeah, his tweets were like, "I'm not toxic. My fans aren't toxic." We're like, he basically was trying to devoid himself and them of any problem. I said, "Listen, you're missing the whole point of what you're talking about." And I'll say this with open experience: if you have any platform, doesn't matter if you've got 3 million followers, 3 followers, or 2,500. If you run a platform, you have to be careful what you say, but what it shows that you may have influence over people, and a responsibility has to be taken over not what just you say, not what you do or what you try and imply. There is a responsibility to the people at home, to the people who maybe aren't commenting, the people that follow you, and so many other things. You just look at things with respect. You open your eye. You look at differentiating angles. Again, we're all going to disagree on our films and maybe plot points. I'm not going to shoot Sam. I'm not going to message you via abuse because I've got a differing viewpoint. But if I find out any followers in this channel were doing so, I would call them out for it, as I have many a time saying I'd rather you left than just watched our videos if you were going to do stuff like that, because it's just not on. And for creators of any social media, of any fandom, not Star Wars, not Star Trek, not Lord of the Rings, God forbid, and loads of other ones, you could be doing food blogs for all I care. If you have any form of influence, you just have to, take a little bit of responsibility and just look at things, because it's such a delicate subject. And again, with all the Moses Ingram stuff that's happened, she did a fantastic Instagram today. If anyone's not following Instagram, please look at her stories from today. They're superb. But yeah, that's all I'm going to say on that, because I would get vexed and keep kicking off. But
Public service
Reva.
announcement from Cinematography.
Yeah,
it is. I mean, we've released statements in the past, and we maintain those statements we've put out, no matter what people want to say. Great comment by Martin, though. On a different topic, how good is Vivian Lyra Blair as a 10-year-old Leia? Here's what I want to say.
Fantastic.
We're gonna get to the final scene in a bit. Just talking again about A New Hope. The moment now of Kenobi looking, not just when the Kenobi looks at Luke, and I'm seeing that he's looking at Luke and Leia together. Job done. Job success. Lets himself get yeeted by Vader to the Force. That is a even more powerful moment now than it ever has been, thanks to this series. And I'll go back to what I always used to say. I think it comes from Joseph Scrimshaw on Force Center. Every time a new Star Wars film comes out, you can look at all the previous ones the day before, say everything is going to change tomorrow. Things will be said, things will be done, and that will alter your mind, and there will be other instances that get taken into account. It said it a lot more eloquently than I can, but it's a real fascinating thing. And now, every time I watch A New Hope, so many more of these lines, because of today, and all that sort of stuff, just have this big impact. And yeah, I'm going to probably I need to do a video on it, because I'm going to end up talking about A New Hope too much. Let's move on. We're still on the Vader duel. Let's talk about the big moment, shall we? I don't know what you'd call it. It's like a diving header in football with a lightsaber to smash out Darth Vader's helmet. The actual ending of the duel and the dialogue scene. Oh my! It wasn't just Obi-Wan crying; it was me too. I'm going to say that.
And me.
Sam, are you going to round out the crying house? But no worries if not.
For once, not like Hook. I didn't cry. I felt it. I for sure felt it. Because I mean, it's such an intense moment, isn't it? But I mean, I didn't cry then. I cried later, but not then.
That's some fun. We'll get to the ones later.
We'll
plug for Hook next week. We'll plug Hook at the end properly. But I mean, I know we had the scene in Rebels, and this was a big discussion online. There were 2 Rebels moments everyone was speaking about. Is he going to kill Reva because she knows about Luke? Are.e. Maul in Rebels? Are they going to do the Ahsoka cracked helmet thing because of that? I wasn't expecting like potato head Anakin to pop up. So I wasn't, like he's got a chunk of his head missing in Return of the Jedi, which I've just always been bemused by. I don't think that came from today, but if it did, it would have made sense. But I've just got to say, like, the moment, yeah, it was great hearing Matt Lanter in Rebels, but I'm sorry, but when you get the voice changer of Hayden in this today, I was just sat there weeping, and it was the lonely yellow eye. You could read 1,000 emotions off those few moments. Again, the lighting at points, you'd get the blue from Obi-Wan's lightsaber, you'd have a neutral, or you'd get Vader's red, which I think was very well strategically done. But I've just got to say, Ewan McGregor, not just in this scene and in this series, but what a phenomenal actor. Because I know he's done a lot of other non-Star Wars, but to come back to this after 17 years, and I think genuinely put on probably one of the top 3 Star Wars performances of all time. Yes, it's a TV series about him. You think they'd have more to do, etc., etc. But those moments, the tears he was shedding with Anakin, and again, sorry to go to A New Hope, but it just sets up everything again down the line. You know, Vader once thought as you did, and that, why do we know that? Because Obi-Wan thinks Anakin's alive, as did Luke, and he reinforces that, you know, Darth Vader basically implies Darth Vader's killed Anakin Skywalker, which is a great way to, again, look at what comes down now. I've just got to say, their final encounter, you know, the Master and the Apprentice, just what a moment. I'm going to stop talking because I'm going to just ramble nonsense and lose what good stuff I could say.
I didn't know how to take it when he split the helmet and it was starting that. I loved the Obi-Wan coming back at him. I loved the rock throwing. I loved them starting to attack the breastplate to start that breaking. I love getting the gasping sound of Vader that we've heard from Return of the Jedi and had at different times, where you get that noise. It was in Rebels as well when he was fighting Ahsoka. And I think it kind of, if you hadn't seen that in Rebels, this is very like, wow, this is the next level from Rebels. But I think it took it away just a little bit that we'd seen it before. And I've watched it many times. I loved that scene in Rebels of him and Ahsoka fighting. But you're right, seeing it with Hayden inside of that mask, with it being much more than just the eye open, like the whole crack, so you could see inside, basically half a helmet missing. I thought it was incredible. I think you talk right about the lighting. It starts with that mix of the blue and the red as he just starts saying that. Everyone starts telling him he's so sorry for everything that's happened, and then just the lines. Anakin Skywalker was not your failure. You didn't kill Anakin Skywalker. I did. Oh, it's just when it finishes on that, when he says that I did, after he says he's the one who killed him, and it goes to that just red of his lightsaber and him looking out. And then you go back to Ewan and he's just devastated. Like, then my friend is truly dead. It's just like, oh my God. It's as powerful as I've seen anything in Star Wars. And I will put that above pretty much anything. I thought it was a perfect ending of that battle. Vader could not fight him any longer. He would have been defeated. Kenobi could have killed him. I love the throwaway of just calling him Darth and walking away. It was just the ending of Anakin and Obi-Wan's story at that point, like the old Anakin and Obi-Wan that they knew, not Vader and Obi-Wan that will go forward with. That was it. That was his final encounter with Anakin. He's dead now. It's not who he is. And I was just, I mean, that's a Georgia picture after I finished the episode. Just this tearful mess. And it started about this time and continued on for the rest of the episode, basically. But it was a beautiful battle. It was done beautifully, and it finished absolutely stunning.
I must admit, for me, it was when he said, I killed him, and smiled. You could see the corner of his, he's smiling as he's saying it, and it's just, I keep making it look like I don't know how to express the level of. This is the thing, everyone criticized. Well, a lot of people criticized Hayden Christensen for being a wooden actor when it came to episode 2 and episode 3. I'm sorry. Watch this and tell me he's wooden. Because this isn't. This is about as probably the best performance he's ever given as Anakin or Vader. And he's giving it as both. And it is phenomenally done. And of course, the when you get to episode 4, it's the only a master of evil Darth. Well, this is where he calls him Darth again before that. And I hadn't thought about it. I genuinely hadn't thought about I once thought as you did. it's clear. It's like it just sunk in for me. That's why I need to watch this again. I need to process it again. So I watched this not long before we came on air, so I didn't get a chance to sit and process it all day. And it has been everything I ever wanted to see from it, and then some. And yeah, that split helmet, the voice changing, I do wonder if this was, even if they've done a lot of digitizing for some of it, I wonder if this was new recorded dialogue to get it down as strict as they have done. But it was done perfect. As you said, that the lighting here, this is why it was done. Before, it worked well with the red and the blue and the neutral. This is the entire reason that was done, for that split helmet. So Obi-Wan could say goodbye, and Vader could say hello there
Hello
in
there.
a way of just yeah. It was done. It was
It's like
perfect.
poetry, it rhymes.
Yep. Oh, and of course, the beginning of it all, as I said, with the episode 3 lines of "I will do what I must, then you will die." I'm like, yes, this is it. This is what I've been waiting for, and it did not disappoint.
I mean, I was going to start by saying, funnily enough, Dave, George has actually got that picture. He's about to put it up right now of you crying. He's about to go right into this. Nice one.
I don't have it saved on my phone. I can bring it up, but it's on
No,
Dave's
let's-
Twitter.
No.
On
I was
Dave-
just joking. You don't do that to Dave. Don't do it. To
But it is on his
I've
Twitter.
cried
Though.
on
He
this,
did
I've
choose
cried
to
on this
tweet it.
panel before.
Yeah, he did live.
Of course, was discussion where
I did
broke
think
down.
that. I was like, am I going to have a breakdown when we start getting into certain moments today? Because I don't know if I'll ever get close enough again. Maybe when we talk about Liam Neeson, who knows?
Oh, but no. In terms of the final scene between them, I think the important part of this is for Obi-Wan to truly separate Anakin and Vader. Like I don't think he's done that before now, but I think because he's seen Anakin in there, and it's not the Anakin he knew. I think it was very difficult to see Anakin as separate when he was fighting on Mustafar, and still I'm so shocked by the previous battle that you can't really comprehend. But I think because of that and hearing him speak and say these words, I think it truly helps Obi-Wan to actually, put that to rest, and just think, well, you know what, that is done. Again, that smile was the creepiest thing. It was so awful to see in a way, because he's enjoying this. He kind of has got to a point where maybe he's insane enough to think, well, do you know what? I've destroyed this life, and I've got to where I am because of what I've done, and I don't have no regrets on that. And at least that's the front that he's putting on here. But yeah, Hayden just is so surprising. I think I think he took it to the next level, more so than I think he's done before, and to just kind of see him do this and do justice for basically two characters was just wonderful to see. And I'm so glad that he's done it and has been well received, because he I think he's done well this entire series, but this scene is fantastic, and I don't think anyone could call him wooden from here at all. Completely agree. And I love that Obi-Wan just walks away. I mean, I think some people will be mad that he didn't go ahead and try to kill him, but obviously we need to get to A New Hope some way anyway. And I also think he's kind of like, well, you're going to destroy yourself. I'm not going to be the one who does it, but someone will. And I think he's leaving that open to the Force. I think Obi-Wan realized that he's done his battling. I think it can help link to as to why the battle in A New Hope is what it is. It's not Obi-Wan trying to kill Vader. It's just trying to stop him from getting Luke and Leia once again. But no, just such an amazing scene. I mean, what I did hear online about someone saying, Obi-Wan slashed one side of Vader's helmet and Ahsoka slashed the other side, and really it would have taken both of them together for there to be any chance of anything, or but ultimately it was Luke. And I just thought, whether that's true or not, it's certainly an interpretation to have. And I like the idea of only if Ahsoka and Obi-Wan had managed to get together, that potentially something could have happened. But it's great what it is, and I love that people have these different theories about it, because there's so many different ways to interpret this whole story from the very beginning to the very end. So, but yeah, it was really beautiful in a really sad and creepy way.
No, it's really well said of that as well, and it's what you said. That I don't think anyone can go for Hayden's acting, and even just in his, I think his voice is powerful. I mean, Phil, you mentioned you think it's new dialogue. A lot of people are theorizing. Obviously, we know that James Earl Jones hasn't recorded any new dialogue for this now, which is completely understandable. Wishing the happiest of retirements, and obviously they're using the AI machine that they did for Mark Hamill in Book of Boba Fett. A lot of people are theorizing that could Hayden have recorded all of Vader's lines for them to run through the machine? Would make sense. I know a lot of these have been directly pulled from other.
That would have been cool.
I wouldn't be surprised. And listen, this makes me ask you a big question. When are we getting Star Wars The Gallery? Just tell us now, as Anakin would say. But yeah, that's another question. But that's going to be the mega one. That's got to. I want a whole season for that, not just another 1 hour special. Please do the whole thing. But yeah, I mean, we've spoke about the duel. We've got to go to Tatooine again, folk. Listen, we've spoken about Beru and Owen, but obviously we'll bring the Reva duel into it. Skyfall, Home Alone, that Lars Homestead. Maybe there was more of a battle than we thought in episode 4. We just never saw it.
That's why they had to flame them down, because they put up too much of a fight. I mean,
they might have took out like a wave or two of stormtroopers, and they're like, you know what? Just get the flame troopers in.
Look in that massive hole in the ground. There's actually a ton of stormtroopers down there.
just brimming
mountain of
troopers.
Them. Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised with the way they played it as well. But I just, I mean, listen, I've not got much to say on them defending, but defending the homestead. Sorry, what I will say, Beru slaps her across the face when she's hiding behind that door, and the best take of all of Star Wars: The Kenobi, the origin that no one thought we'd ever get or need. The origin to Uncle Owen's limp. When he got launched off holding his leg, I was like, hold on. I was like, he's got a limp in the film. This all makes sense.
Yes, Reva, you fucked up his knee. Yeah.
and I did not know that's amazing.
It's just, yeah. Oh. It's a really fascinating. Listen, it's a funny one. It's what you live for. What's the phrase now? Is it glup shito? Are you all familiar with that? It began as an insult, which was really dumb. Okay, so a glup shito is basically what people think they're mocking Star Wars fans by. So when a minor character that no one's heard of returns or comes back and everyone gets excited, people who don't know who they are will try and say it as a mockery thing. But Star Wars fans wear it as a badge of honor. Like everyone's got their favorite glup shitos, and it's kind of defeated the purpose of saying
like
it. So
the guy who carries the ice cream maker on Bespin, whatever.
Yes. Yes,
that guy,
and that's a massive thing at Star Wars Celebration now. Everybody does the run every year. So it is an interesting one. But does anyone have anything else to say before we get, Luke hiding, I'm guessing, in the valley thing? I forgot the name of it. The Judland Wastes? Phil, you might know this.
Yeah, that's where we're going to. Yeah, that's kind of the more important part of this battle is, yes, there is that chase through the homestead, but it's much more about her encounter with Luke than anything. And it's probably one of my favorite pieces of the story of her as well. I think she is phenomenal in this.
I mean, I have a point, but not on this. It's actually more to go back. You say talk about Star Wars Celebration. I mean, I think Star Wars Celebration might be a little bit to thank for this series happening. When they brought Ewan and Hayden back, yeah, and they saw the
Ewan wasn't there, was he? It was just Hayden. Yeah. But look at Rogue One, right? That wasn't Hayden. That was Spencer Wilding and somebody else I've forgotten, because one of them actually wasn't used. One was in the deleted stuff. But yeah, we don't get, and I think Ewan said it. He's basically admitted we don't really get it without the fans and without the responses they've had over the years, which is a wonderful thing to a point. Obviously, given other recent events.
Yeah, but with this homestead thing, I mean, I love that we see Owen and Beru, protecting Luke. I think for fans, I think it's just important to know that, Owen was standoffish in the original, and they didn't play a major part, but they really do play a massive part in the story. We just don't really see it because it's not a very exciting 19 years. On their end, but for this moment, they really are, doing what they can. And, I think, Beru becomes, you know, fabulous gay icon for that slap. I mean, oh my god, like I was like, yes, like come on, like you know, you just like she has the idea. She's like, right, Luke, you get on the ladder. I'm gonna wait here. Like I'm gonna smack the shit out of this person so you can get out. Like you know, you just like you don't. I did not go into this series thinking this is what I'm gonna see. You know, it's just such a shock. But it was just amazing. So, but also I think, you know, this is the part where people like, okay, well, Luke's shouldn't have seen a lightsaber. You know, he really needs to not know what's going on. But really, from his perspective, he doesn't see really what's going on. He's always, you know, running away. He may have seen someone, you know, wearing a cloak coming after him, but he doesn't know who that is. Doesn't know what it's in relation to. As Owen's done, he'll tell some story, and because Luke was knocked out, you know, it'll be fine. So that's when when I said before about them being careful not to break canon or, you know, events. But yeah, I think it's eerie to see Luke suddenly brought in, because he's not really been the focus, to suddenly be brought in and be running away from someone into the unknown. And we've seen with, you know, these extra series, you know, we've seen a little bit more about what can happen on Tatooine and the dangers. So for me, it's like, we know Luke's going to be fine, but to see him going out there, it's very dangerous. Just on a normal Tatooine day, it's very dangerous to do. But yeah, it's also a great performance from Moses in terms of, you know, Reva's really still, of course, very injured, and has just fought her way through. And I think some people said, oh, you know, she should have fought them easier. And I'm like, if you've got a hole in your stomach out of your back,
which keeps getting hit, by the way.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, I don't really think that she's going to be on her A game. So, I mean, I would love it, but, you know, there's got to be at least some form of realism here. So, yeah, I think she does what, you know, she does with what she's got. But no, it's still thrilling. I mean, of course, because it's interweaved with the Obi-Wan and Vader fight. So I think I was probably more focused on that than I was on this, but it's not like it was a bad subplot or anything. It was still engaging and still wanted to know what was going to happen.
I did love how they kept the light. Sorry, I did love how they kept Luke from not seeing a lightsaber all the way through that. So when he gets given it in an episode, he doesn't know what he's got in his hand. He never once sees Reva's lightsaber. He's unconscious when it's there, and he never sees it in battle either. So I loved that moment of them hiding it.
But if you go digging on Tatooine, you're going to find a lightsaber somewhere, because apparently everyone just wants to bury theirs there.
Right? Oh my goodness.
I mean, someone's going to find Reva's one to go as well. That saved us backing the $400 HasLab project that's failed.
Just go to Tunisia and just like dig out. Here we go, found it. Oh, good.
Oh, that'd be special. But I mean, the Reva stuff of this. I mean, we might as well get to the. I don't need to really, I don't need to talk about Obi-Wan sensing Luke, do we? Let's just get on with it. The Reva Luke moment to me is one of. I mean, last week we raved about poetry at rhymes of Vader, and Anakin stabbing her. I did not expect it this week to then be it's her now squaring up to stab the kid. This, to me, is one of the defining moments from this series, and I'll actually say one of the best storytelling moments of the show as well. Moses Ingram, I think, has been, I'm going to say this, rounding out her character arc, I know there's another scene after this, has been one of the best additions to Star Wars of the Disney era, the last live-action, animated, whatever. We've had 6 episodes with her, and we have a complete character arc of somebody that was... we thought was just a stereotypical 2-dimensional villain that just hunts Jedi, to finding out the truth that she's deep down hunting Vader, and in the failure of that, goes for revenge on an innocent child just for being the son. To not being able to do the kill herself and thinking she's failed Vader. And what I loved about this isn't just her performance; it isn't just the parallels of putting the young actress that played her, I just don't have a name, on the floor instead of Luke. It was the scene with Obi-Wan after, when he speaks about, mercy and how he'd given peace to the Jedi. This is what Star Wars is about inherently. It's about good rising above evil. It always has been. It is political. And I just loved everything we had from this moment, because we know Luke's not going to die. And this is, Sam, you actually tweeted this earlier off that Guardian article as well, talking about, because it's a prequel, people saying there's no tension. yes, there was tension in this scene. We know he's not going to die, but what I'm glad didn't happen. We didn't get Kenobi swoop in. They have a duel and she dies. They let the story happen. They let Kenobi miss it. They let her bring him back to the homestead and let her get on with it. And that's what I found so rewarding in this. We, and you can look at me on these videos last 2 weeks, me saying she's going to die, she's not going to make it out, she knows who Luke is, blah blah blah. And I'm sat here a week later, thinking it's one of the best things I've seen in the series, and it's just a testament to the performance and the writing of this character. I've absolutely loved everything we've seen off Reva. And you know what? And I'll say something every week. I come on and say, "Listen, Too many Jedi survive Order 6 still need to die." I will hold my hand up and say, if there is a future of her in Star Wars, I would like to see it. Dependent on that future, of course. Like many things, there's rumors of a Cal Kestis series, which I really don't want to be true. But I was floored by the scene. And again, when you're coming off the back of this insane lightsaber duel, to then get character moments, which you don't expect to me in a show like this. And it's not rude to say you don't expect character development in Star Wars, but it's always been, I guess, one of the weakest points. George Lucas will admit this was his writing, certainly dialogue, maybe not dialogue in this thing, but with themes and again the logic of the Force and being a Jedi. I just thought it was a powerful moment to have her and have the redemption of, Obi-Wan telling her she hasn't failed. That's the guy that she's just almost murdered the person he's protecting. The fact he couldn't save Luke, she'd gone and done it already. If she'd have killed him, that'd have been it. And that was the bit that made that scene for me. So I keep repeating myself. If anyone else wants to jump in the Reva stuff, because I absolutely loved it.
It was really well crafted. I love the fact they played it with getting Luke unconscious was a great move, because you're right, it takes him out of harm's way, but still leaves him there. And then to put that Reva moment where she sees herself in that role when she's finally trying to strike him down, and that moment of realization that she can't do that. She's not Vader. She's not Anakin Skywalker. She hasn't got that Sith in her that she thought she maybe did before. She's done some bad stuff. She's got that she's gone through where she's been Inquisitor. She definitely has. But you're right, when Kenobi told her, it was about the fact she gave mercy. She picked up that child and brought him home unharmed. I mean, harmed, but it was his own fault. He was climbing on rocks. If you do that, you're gonna get hurt. So yeah, she brought him home, and he was still alive. And for that to be played right, you needed an actress who could bring both the rage that she wanted to seal herself in with Vader's legacy almost, because it's his offspring, to then realizing she was just playing herself, and she was seeing herself again, and she had to move forward from it. I thought it was perfectly played. I loved her and Kenobi him talking about mercy and how that can right some of the wrongs that she's had, and it's about now what she does going forward. Powerful stuff. A really nice ending to sort of her story arc that we've had all the way through this. I just think it's been perfectly played. I don't know if I'd want to see her again in something. I think I'm sure we'll find out the tales of Reva of what happened. It'll be out there somewhere. They're not going to leave that character alone now. She's too big, and I think she's done. Obviously, there's been the stuff that's been everywhere when it first started, but I think for a lot of the fan base, she's had quite a big impact over that. She's come out as this really strong character, and so she'll crop up again. But yeah, I thought she was excellent. I thought the scene was brilliant, and it was just leading us into this, really closing off the episode really well, especially her part of it.
Yeah, I agree with all that. And can we talk about the "Have I become him" line? That fear she has that she has gone too far, that she has lost everything that she wanted. Her whole idea was to get back at Vader, but what it cost her was her own path, her own journey, her own her soul, basically, to do that. And here she is realizing the error of her ways, but instead of it being a woe is me moment of just the pity me, it's the have I become what I have feared? And Obi-Wan turns around and goes, no, you chose not to. And now what you do is up to you. And then the traditional burying of the lightsaber on Tatooine. No, she did fantastically throughout this. And her story arc is the antithesis of Vader and Obi-Wan's arc throughout. If you starts at the beginning, you have her being far too aggressive and far too violent because she has a mission. By the end of it, you have someone who's truly broken, but has realized the error of their ways. Vader and Obi-Wan shut himself off from the Force, so he has thought he's seen the error of his ways, but in actuality, by the end of it, he has come back to it and realized what his true purpose and his journey actually is. And Vader has gone from someone who didn't think he could get the revenge and finish off what he wanted to someone who was bested and gets the line, last time I was but the learner, now I am the master, because he feels he has been bested, but that doesn't stop him. That fuels his arc going forward. So Reva is the most important character in the series that you don't know, that you don't realize until the end. And it is fantastic. I mean, Moses Ingram's done a fantastic job acting, but it's done really well.
Yeah, I don't have too much to add to what you've all said. I mean, for me, I don't maybe hold it as highly as everyone else. I thought it was fine. I think it was a good way to kind of end it. I just didn't find it as powerful. I found the previous episode more powerful for her than this. I think it's the whole. I think that the confrontation with Vader and her realizing that, for me, I felt more from that. I mean, the performance was good, but yeah, I think part of me would have preferred if, once she got back and kind of like realized this, she, maybe. I didn't want her to die, but I thought because of what had happened, like maybe she'd done this good deed, realized it, and then maybe succumbed to her wounds. That's, because in my mind, it's like, okay, here's another character now that has gone off who, could potentially, develop Force skill. I'm just thinking like that. But I mean, there's things that you can do with this character. I'm not opposed to seeing her again. But yeah, I just thought it was good. It was good. But I think
you might, but in books and comics, that's why I'd be happy seeing her with, not in a series.
I think I would feel like someone like Owen would be like, "What? Wait, she literally just tried. Have you not seen my leg? She's just done all of this, and you're just gonna let her go or something like I can imagine that. But no, I'm not. I'm really not precious about that at all, and it's not a massive deal breaker about what's happened. I think the fact that Obi-Wan's gone the one time and that someone comes to attack Luke is just really funny to me. I think some people would take that very seriously and be like, Obi-Wan's been there the entire time and the one time he's not, and just be really mad about it. But for me, it's like, well, he was trying to protect the other one, so it's understandable.
Yeah, I've got a great. I mean, I don't want to do it on this video, but the Leia being the chosen one theory, I'm actually loving more and more recently. I won't get into that tonight because that could be its whole discussion, but certainly off this series, it makes me think that maybe they all did want Leia after all. Phil, was it the From a Point of View books where Yoda believed Leia to be the chosen one, not Luke or something? And
yeah,
it's a really fascinating conversation to have maybe down the line. But let's speak about what happened next. So we've got the finale for Reva, I guess we can say, TBC. I'm with you on that, by the way, Sam. I'd like to get her back in, and I think it's more likely another form of media. Imagine her and Cal Kestis hunting Inquisitors. It sounds like it'd be a great video game. So I'm just going to leave that there. And though EA apparently stroppy with Lucasfilm because they cancelled their silly exclusive game contract. We'll do one game a year. Well, we've had 3 and it's been about 8 years, so that's worked out well, EA. But then again, look at the studio that's just got the new one. Right, guys, so we're almost at the end. We're going to talk about, I guess, really quickly, the Vader Palpatine scene, because we've got to bring this up. I think we all expect cameo at some point. I wasn't surprised by when and the placement of it. The only thing I can really say about it, because I think the scene was fine. It was expected, but I like the fact that the Emperor is still playing up Vader's hatred. The Emperor knows Vader cares. The Emperor knows he wants him dead. And the Emperor knows the hatred that he can flow by not catching Kenobi is going to fulfill all his evil duties. I love that angle. Yeah, I mean, I don't. It's just nice to see McDermott back, and also the makeup looking more traditional, like the original trilogy. I think it looked better than in Episode 3. Still not perfect. There was a bit of a weird twinge to it. I couldn't quite put my finger on what it was, but it was
Similar
like
than
mid.
9.
Yes, that's the thing, isn't it? It was a weird one. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to over talk about getting McDermott back. It's just nice to see him / hear him on a monitor. But I was surprised that how much we saw of his actual face.
Yeah, the makeup's never been right since they did Jedi. They've said categorically they didn't keep any records when they did it. They didn't keep any real. They've got a couple of photographs when they were putting makeup on, but they never kept a lot because it was the last movie. They were kind of finished with it all, and some reason just haven't got very much of it. So it's never quite looked right for me, and it certainly didn't in this. I would have preferred a much darker, shrouded face, and getting his voice coming through I think would have worked better for me, because it took me out a little bit when I saw him, like, oh, there's something not quite right about his face, and that was just something silly, but it took me out of it a little bit, like, oh, okay. But we did get then the Imperial March at the end of the scene, so I don't care, and I was happy.
For me, what took me out of it more was his voice, because the voice didn't seem quite right. It was more McDermott than it was Palpatine. It was more Chancellor Palpatine than it was like Darth Sidious, and I thought it could have been a little bit dark, a bit more gravelly. The makeup actually I like because it did look more reminiscent of 6. It wasn't perfect, but it was a lot better than we had in 9, which I really did not like how they'd done the makeup for 9. But I did love how he played him. The Emperor played Vader's loyalty, and he played up his anger. It sets up very nicely for 4, 5, and 6, but also then Vader's personal vendetta that gets explored in the comics. It gives us this wonderful branching point for the additional media that we get, and then the films themselves. And to top it all off, the Imperial March, which we spoke about the absence of the last few weeks, they had to save it, and this was the moment to use it. It was, perfect.
And with regards to Palpatine, I think for me, everything below here was good, but for me it was the eyes, and part of it could have been the lighting, but I also feel like his eyes just seemed very blank to me. There wasn't a lot there, and for me that's super important. And I think we've seen when people have done like either CGI things or whatever else, where it's the eyes can be one of the difficult areas to get right, and I just think there was something a bit off about them. But yeah, it's always nice to get Ian McDermott back. I mean, he's so delightful in what he does, and I just love what he brings to the character. I think the important part of this scene is, I think more Vader to contemplate what has happened and to kind of realize that, he's still not there, and that he needs to spend these next few years really, developing and controlling himself, because in a way he's still like the Padawan that he was, which you can kind of see in like the reflections between the fight that just happened and the training in the flashback that we got in the last episode. So I think it's learning to become, a bit more patient, a bit more calculated. We've seen glimpses of that, but I feel like it's to get to that next level where he's calmer, because he's still a little bit aggressive in his fight with Obi-Wan in A New Hope, but it's never to the extent. And of course, the fight is completely different. But I feel like he's really needs to kind of like just learn how to properly behave around some things. Again, he has so much power in front of everyone else, but there's just certain people that he loses control over. So I think the Imperial March kind of concluding that to kind of like give us a sense of, okay, the Darth Vader that we are going to see later on is still to come. He's at this level. He's going to, become even greater of a threat.
No, that's really well said. And I guess one thing, I don't want to get into conversation, but Hayden has spoken multiple times about coming back, and I'm asking him about his own shows. All I'm going to say is a lot of people need to know this. They are just answering questions journalists are asking them. It never means anything's in process, and I'm just going to say no one's going to ask Hayden Christensen on a press tour for Star Wars. So, do you not want to come back? Of course he isn't going to say no. Could you imagine the headlines? No, I won't. You'll get the whole Daniel Craig post Spectre thing again, which is just not good PR. and also makes it look bad when they do come back. So I'm just gonna get out there. One thing I want to speak about, because we're almost at the end, we've got to talk about the farewell. We spoke a lot about Leia, but a shout out just as a whole for the series. Vivian Lyra Blair as Leia has absolutely stole this show for me. One of the best young actor performances. I know she's in that Netflix show that Pedro Pascal, I think, plays her dad in it to get Star Wars things going together. I forgot what the name of the film was, but it's a Rob Rodriguez one. But I just want to say that farewell scene, the maturity that she has as a 10-year-old is frightening. And that's to the credit to the writing and the actress. The actress more so being able to read those lines and act in that way at such a young age, because she definitively is Princess Leia at this point in time. I thought she was superb in this. And just getting a reunion with her and Obi-Wan. I mean, even before that part, Obi-Wan like hugging Bail Organa, given where they were at the start of the series, and he's back. He is Obi-Wan Kenobi again, and even when he's like laughing with Leia and joking with it, it's just wonderful. And I've just got to say the bit I think I broke down at, and I think some of us might have, is when he speaks about the qualities of her mother and her father, and then you've got the theme going in the background. It was just a superb scene, and more importantly, that was earned. Their journey together across this series had earned that moment between the two, and it is even just the way it ends of him saying, "Will I see you again?" Well, it'd be dangerous if anyone's to ever find out, and Bail Organa saying they're getting bolder, and like, yes, but your planet's about to get blown to smithereens in 9 years' time. So that whole Alderaan scene was just Alderaan's like a cursed object, and every time it appears, the whole point of it's to be beautiful, to make the suffering worse in Episode 4. But just seeing that scene of them all together, reunited, I think it's the farewell. I don't think we'll get them back together. And if I'm being blunt, I wouldn't like to see them back together just because of how well they've been in this story for me.
But that's Episode 4.
This was the scene that I was a broken man by this point. The moment he started talking about the qualities, say when he's talking about the qualities of Padme, the qualities of Anakin, that she was showing them all, that they were great people who bore a great child. I was just, and then Leia's theme's playing. It was literally the moment he said Princess Leia Organa to her and started talking, I was just a snotty, weepy old man myself, and it was just wonderful. It was a perfect goodbye to close out that relationship. It was a perfect goodbye to send off Leia out that series. I loved her getting dressed, like a flashback to the first episode where it was the decoy who was getting ready. But it was nice to see her obviously putting the holster on, and I just the whole thing from start to finish, that scene I absolutely thought was played to perfection. And to say Leia's theme playing, and then you got a little bit of the Star Wars theme as well, heading towards as Obi-Wan was leaving. I openly wept, but loved this goodbye, and I kept crying right till we saw our other images that we're going to talk about.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And the only thing would have been better would have been proper like Leia space buns, but you can't win everything. It was done perfectly, and when Across the Stars started playing, I had been keeping some bits in and others not, and now I just lost it at, because when that happens, it's Leia's theme is something else. When it comes to Star Wars, it's the first, compared to everything else that John Williams wrote for the original trilogy, it's the most soft and subtle theme that he wrote. And when you get this, you have to imagine if Carrie was still with us, she would have been beaming from ear to ear at Vivian's performance of Leia throughout. She has made Leia her own, added to the legacy without detracting anything from it. It's just been great from start to finish. And the brilliant thing is you can watch Vivian's performance, then watch Carrie's, and you can see the crossover. And if you watch Rebels, it's not Catherine Tabor, I think, who does the voice. I can't remember. It might be Catherine Tabor who does the voice for Leia and Rebels. You have the little bridge, and it's just phenomenal. So all props to her as a 10-year-old. I mean, at 10 years old, I was doing nothing anywhere near that impressive, and it's just like that is, you know what I mean? Like, it is so well done. So all props. Nope.
Obi-Wan and Alderaan, I didn't think we would see. So I thought it was just nice to see him in that environment. I again, the Leia relationship with Bale and with Breya has been really, really lovely to see. I think we've not had too much of Breya, especially before, so I think it's been nice to get that. And of course, the Obi-Wan referencing Padme and Anakin and saying about those qualities was just really lovely. But at the same time, I love that as much as Leia appreciated hearing that she looks to her parents because they are there. And I think again, when I mentioned Beru and Owen before, it's like the unsung heroes. It's the people who help these characters get to the point in which they were ready to then go on the journey that we start with them in A New Hope. So yeah, just super lovely to see. And I got major Phantom Menace poetry, it rhymes elements with the goodbye because it was so Anakin and Shmi. To me, it was totally, it's the words, will I ever see you again? And then it's the fact that the next time Anakin sees Shmi, it's her dying, and the next time Leia sees Obi-Wan, it's when he's literally about to die. So I really felt that instantly as soon as I saw it. So it does feel like this is the last time. I feel like if there's anything in between here, obviously we can't second guess it. It could be amazing if there was anything else, but I feel like they've done it in a way in which it wraps it in a bow. It doesn't need anything else. And I think it's just good to know that Obi-Wan and Leia are at the point where they truly do respect each other for who they are. She calls him Obi-Wan. She understands what he's done, his position. And, obviously we'll forever be grateful. And that she's now going to go back to her life and he's going to go back to his. And that's that. But it's nice when you have those sort of journeys together where you've not spent too much time together, but they've really been through such an experience. So it's a very, very bittersweet moment, but just brilliantly acted again all around. No,
very well said. Especially, I didn't even clock to the poetry it rhymes with the Shimmy death as well. That's just took another level to that. George Lucas, I'd love to, I know everyone asks this every series, but this one maybe more than the sequel trilogy, more than Boba Fett, more than Mandalorian. I'd love to know George Lucas's thoughts on. This is the one I think is very much a George Lucas story, or how it feels like it. But with that in mind, we've got a few other things to speak about very quick, because I know we've gone almost 2 hours, which has been amazing so far. Not much to say on this, but I guess this is more about putting Obi-Wan in his place for where we meet him down the line. We get him packing up, moving house. We didn't get to see him buy the hut as I thought we might, but we did get the implication he has bought the hut in the market. We've just got to say that I don't care about that Owen and Obi-Wan scene. Yes, they're not friends. That's fine. I wasn't there for that. I was there for when he looked at Luke Skywalker, and we all knew, didn't we? The moment he says, "Do you want to meet him?" Ignore the speeder in his hand. We know the 2 words that were going to come out of his mouth, and it was the most obvious, beautiful piece of fan service I've ever come across in Star Wars. The hello there. The camera zooms into
the camera
him
and winked. He could have literally.
He basically did, because he smiles after. And you know what? Not that they would have done it every time. This feels like a Ewan McGregor thing. Like, he knows he said on interviews it's followed him for years. I think they probably would have said it will be said in the first or last episode. And it's just, he's probably just been like, okay, let's just get it done with. Because he's always spoke about it, saying it wasn't my line, it was Alec Guinness's to Luke in 4. Yeah. And we know it was that, and it's correct. And just to get it again to Luke was just... There should be a commentary where Obi-Wan, as Ewan McGregor, as Obi-Wan says, whilst that's playing, as if a million voices cried out in yes, when it's there, because that's what I did when I heard it. I was like, yes, like I don't think I've screamed that before in a while, because it was expected but not expected, because you kind of forget because of all the great stuff that's happened. It's like, oh sugar, yeah, like oh my god, It's not even the cherry on the top of the lightsaber
was. So the 2-finger salute with the lightsaber was Ewan's part of Obi-Wan, and yes, the hello there for episode 3 has been meme forever. I have about 60 to 80 saved on my phone for that exact reason. For every time I have met someone who hasn't got them, here we go. Here's everything I ever have because it's needed. This was not me. Well, this perfect, and it was. I mean, I've always said to this day that when they did the announcement, he really should have just come out there and gone, hello there, drop the mic, walk off, announcement done. That's all you needed to be done. This was us waiting all of these years finally, 17 years later, we get hello there to Luke. And yes, the little speeder is a nice little callback. And you have to remember that episode 4, he does know who Ben is. He doesn't know who Obi-Wan is, but he knows who Ben is. And that you need that lovely little cutoff. And one thing you guys may not pick up on, Obi-Wan's outfit is the white white Jedi robes and everything. Of course, you get more of that in the comics, actually. This with the goggles and the white, it is a outfit he then wears since and does things with. So actually, it's a proper nod to all the new stuff they've added. And out of everything that's happened since 2015, with Force Awakens to where we are today, I think this is by far the best of the Disney era. I'm not criticizing anything else from that. I'm just saying, for me personally, this is Star Wars compared to most everything they've done. They've done a lot of good things, but this felt properly Star Wars.
Yeah, and someone said, I don't know, Dave, but like someone said about, again, it was about kind of like the whole Ben Kenobi thing and about Luke not knowing, but it was that you can meet someone at 10 years old, like once, and just hear about them and not know. Like we probably would have met people, once, or oh, it's your parents' friend, and you may have met them once. You don't remember who they are, but you know what I mean? So I think people think that, oh, yes, Luke's going to remember this specific point in time on this very average day, forever and ever, when that's just not the case. And obviously, because of how much, Obi-Wan ages in 9 years, I mean, it's, I wouldn't remember him either. So
his new house must have like the most insane like bath or something to age him up like very quickly. But I mean, we've got to talk one other moment, the thumbnail. Just as I thought the series was done on a hello there. I'd given up hope. I didn't think it'd happen because I thought it would have maybe already happened. I thought, wow, they really mugged me off here for a few weeks, didn't they? Qui-Gon Jinn. And I think the reason I see it coming was because it was in the middle of the desert, which kind of made it the more fantastical. That he just emerged. I was like, hold on, that's a blue ghost. And I was like, oh my, it's him. And you just knew that you had to turn him around. I was weeping. I didn't even really make sense of what Qui-Gon said at the start. I was just sat there, 3-year-old George, that's favourite Jedi was Qui-Gon Jinn. That's still one of my favourite ever Jedis. 3-year-old George has never seen Qui-Gon Jinn since. Don't count the Clone Wars, because he's a voice. The one who thought we were going to get him in Revenge of the Sith. And you grew up one day when Obi-Wan has Qui-Gon and he never appeared. And I felt sad at 9 years old that we'll never get Liam Neeson back. To see him back today, and he was in a jovial mood. He was in a Qui-Gon Jinn kind of mood. And it was just the most amazing few moments. And is it fan service? 100%. But is it nice that Liam Neeson got to have his return to Star Wars after all these years? Some people want to jump on the fan service thing, but story-wise, it makes logical sense. More training Obi-Wan's going to get from Qui-Gon. He had to wait about 10 years, but it wasn't wrong. What a moment for me personally, and one of the many great highlights. And I'm going to say, if people are going to moan about the thumbnail, listen, there wasn't much color in this episode, so I needed something colorful. And why not Liam Neeson? He looks fantastic, by the way. He looks fantastic.
It was amazing to see him again. It was wonderful. I love that he came on and said, took your time. And it was just that whole. It was like they just fell into that relationship immediately again that they left off in episode 1. These two friends, it was lovely, and it was lovely to see him back just in his Jedi robes, his lovely Jedi beard, his lovely Jedi hair. He just looked fantastic, and it was just such a little quick scene, but that's all it needed to be. That journey is now going to start with Obi-Wan learning more about the Force, and that was wonderful to see him back.
Trust you've all the Staves for looking at the hair. It's I was at the beginning, it is here at the end. Of course you're gonna notice it.
I'm always jealous of Phill with.
Yeah, I mean, I have my own version of that for sure. No, it took you long enough. Line was perfectly delivered. It's the Qui-Gon. It did feel it was right back, and it wasn't. Yes, it was fan service to a point, but it really wasn't. And actually, for me, the fan service in this has done so subtly and so well compared to bits like Mando, where it's been a bit kind of, here is your fan service. This was, no, this is part of the story. He knew he had training to do. And yeah, Qui-Gon was very much the, well, what the hell time do you call this? We've got work to do. Come on. It's just, It was done so well, and the actual reaction, of course, from Obi-Wan as well, of just the after all this time, it's like, well, I've always been here, you just haven't seen. And it was a wonderful connection there of he's still teaching him all these years later, which is what Obi-Wan then does to Luke, and Luke then does to Rey. And it is this wonderful passing off of lessons that Star Wars never stops, and you can always learn something.
I mean, talk about cry. I mean, this was the point. I don't know whether this was an amalgamation of me holding stuff in without realizing it from the entire episode and then coming out here, or if it was just Liam Neeson. I'm tempted to just say it was the latter because this very easily could have been the case. But yeah, I paused it when I realized it, went back to it, cried, and I was just sat there at 25 to 9, being like, in the morning, being like, okay. But no, I spoke with my sister earlier. I mentioned earlier before we started. She FaceTimed me. She was wiping away tears. I'm pretty sure that was what had broke her. And she said that can't believe it had the audacity to do that to me. Again, it's just I'm similar to George in a way. I'm only a year older, so I think we have very similar experiences with. Not anymore. No, it doesn't feel like anymore. But the experience of seeing the prequels at that age and having that connection. And as you can see, I've got this annual behind me from 2000 where it has those in, and so just something as nice as being able to speak with my sister earlier about that, because such different people, but we connect on that level and we understand the relationship with this series because of it. Me probably a lot more so than her, but we have that childhood connection, and I think it's just so nice that someone who's been I mean, we said it I think before the series came out about seeing people like Hayden and Ewan back after so long, but for Liam it's been even longer. And obviously it doesn't touch a candle to the original trilogy stars who spent much longer away from the series, really. But still, I mean, 23 years. It's a very long time, and almost a quarter of a century. And I just think it was just so lovely to just see how chill he was, and to just kind of him say, right, okay, back to work, really. And I think it kind of makes you understand, that Obi-Wan is he needed to have this connection with the Force to be able to do that, and his Force connection was broken, and that's why anyone, thinking that, I did think, oh, he'll need to. Pep talk Obi-Wan and help him build up for this. That's what I thought, but it makes sense that he couldn't, because there was the Force wasn't with him totally. He wasn't letting it flow through him, but now he is, and he's come to kind of a peaceful moment. He is able to now move on to the next stage of training, which will eventually lead him to becoming the Obi-Wan that we see, and then later as the Force Ghost. So it works with the story, and that's why I would say it's not fan service. It very easily could have just been anything, but because of what Qui-Gon is, it couldn't really be anyone else. You just have Yoda telepathically or whatever, linking together. It needed to be Qui-Gon. So just such a great scene, and I can't that feeling when he came up was just just so good. Just seeing Hayden like that,
Yeah, and it wasn't long. He didn't overstay his welcome. We could have taken an hour with him. We'd be happy with that, but it was just the right amount. And it's really well what you said there, Sam. The fact that he didn't just come back and give him a pep talk. Obi-Wan was so connected to the Force that he came back. I think that's what makes this work more than it could have again, which is a really fascinating thing. And what's that's going to do? That's going to round out this episode. I know I've written down we'll have a discussion on this fine, but let's scrap that. Let's just what I want to come do final thoughts is give our final thoughts on this series. And I'm actually going to start this off with a comment by someone in the chat. Name is not available, squared. We're looking for familiarity, story, dialogue, or do you want to discover something new, or just enjoy being fed something that fill the gaps and give you some peace? I find this quite fascinating because all of it kind of applies, if I'm being honest. When the show was announced, of course I was excited. Hayden back, Ewan back, great. I'm 100% buzzing for this. But what story can you tell that warrants them coming back? What story can you do for the characters that is a necessity. And we spoke over the weeks, what was so important for Kenobi to leave Tatooine, leave his mission, Leia? And it's a fascinating question because I don't think there's anything wrong with saying all of it. It's not a cop-out. And, what I will say with this and reflecting my thoughts, which I brought up then on the series, to me, this is one of the greatest character pieces in Star Wars. And it's very, not naive or soon. Obviously, this is a television series. This is a mini-series titled Obi-Wan Kenobi. So, of course, it's going to be about Obi-Wan Kenobi. And what I think they've done with this character, taking the broken Jedi of 10 years ago and transforming him not just back into a believer of the Force, but surpassing his previous knowledge, his experiences, and not setting up things to come, but just taking his point into saying where he will eventually go. Because the man that leaves episode 3 isn't the same man that begins episode 4. And they've been able to me personally, show this across the series. And it's warranted this series' creation. Kind of what I've been speaking about all night. How is this changing already my approach on episode 4 on New Hope? God forbid when I get to watch 5 and 6 again shortly. It's a combination of them all. But where I stand in this show, Phil, you mentioned this is some of the best Disney Star Wars. I think you're correct, my friend. I think this is right up there because this is story, this is character, and Star Wars. Yes, we want action, we want set pieces, we want all that sort of stuff, sweeping scores, and we get a lot of that. But that can only take you so far. That can only do so much. And when you get the right story, you get the right writing, characters, performances, the craft of it all just comes together. And for me, this is right up there at the top of Star Wars for me. Obviously, I'm not going to sit here and do a rankings. We've done that already. Go check out that video. But I'm excited to watch this again in the future. I'm excited to watch this as a group of 6 episodes. I'm excited to watch this across a marathon because when next time I go and do a Star Wars marathon, I'll be doing Kenobi in between episodes 3 and 4, 100%. And the story I take with it and answers that question, I hope.
I think it's weird because you kind of sat here with that question, and I've been sitting with the comments on so I can see. So I've been looking at that question for a while since it was kind of posted, and I was looking, thinking, well, what do I think? And you're right, it is a way for me to go. I'm looking for familiarity. Yes, don't want to be spoon-fed stuff that fills. Yes, I absolutely do, and I want all of that in my Star Wars. I want people to bring stuff that is going to feel like a warm Star Wars hug. I want stuff that's going to surprise me in Star Wars. I want new things and I want old things, and I just want more Star Wars, and I want people who care about the world of Star Wars to be behind that. And I think we're getting that more and more as we get the series. Filoni and Favreau seem to be, I know Kathleen Kennedy is still the big head, but I think Filoni and Favreau are certainly taking the reins in terms of the television produce that are getting put out there. And it's people who grew up with this same thing we did and appreciate and are fully invested in what they're giving us as well. Not just a movie for a paycheck or a series for a paycheck. I'm going to get hired to do a Star Wars. Great. This is people who really care about what's getting put out, and I'll take everything they'll give me. And I'm not a Star Wars fan where I'll be like, oh, I'm not going to watch that part of Star Wars. Give me it all. I want to watch it all. I want to be entertained by it all. There'll be things along the way that I'm not going to like, and that's absolutely fine too. People are going to find things that hit against them and go, it's not for me, but it's still great in Star Wars. It's new stuff that I can go, yeah, that's great for some people. Someone's going to find that, an audience will find that. Someone's going to love The Rise of Skywalker out there. There's probably like one of them, definitely, yeah. But, kidding.
Oh, I know
kidding.
someone in a Star Wars film. Honestly, I actually know someone who's Star Wars film is Rise of Skywalker.
That's okay. People are drunk all the time. Yeah, I just wanted I've loved this show, and I would put it at the very top of everything Disney's done. I would put it almost at the top of everything Star Wars for me. I have loved this series. I think Ewan is an absolute revelation. I thought he's been excellent. Head and shoulders above most actors who've been in Star Wars. He's even surpassed himself in the prequels, and I think the volume and the things that they have now to work with are really helping with that. I have loved this series. I can't wait to watch it as a one thing again. I want to see the whole thing play out again. I will watch this episode. I think I'm probably going to finish this. I'm going to go watch it again. But yeah, I've loved this. I'm so happy it's been here. We talked about it for so long before it was actually even a thing, when Ewan was just saying in interviews that he would come back, and to now have it and it be done and complete and have the story we've been told, just thank you. It's been amazing.
Yeah, I can't really add too much to it. It has been that, and to have 6 episodes, no filler, all story, everything that meant something, everything that was said had a meaning, everything added up. It was done to perfection. Deborah Chow nailed it. Do you remember, of course, when they had editorial problems? They were getting new script writers in. They weren't happy with it. They wanted to redo things. We all thought Sky was falling in. No, they did it for the right reason. They let this gestate and let this process bring out the best of it. They knew they had to do it right, and boy, did they. They absolutely nailed it. It adds to characters, and yes, I want familiarity in my Star Wars, but I want new stuff as well. This gave us a new story with old characters, with meaning to old and meaning to new. It was fan service. It was new. It was it expanded. It was perfect, and it gave. There's always been an interview. I remember anyone who's watching from the UK or anyone who's watched Top Gear around the world. There was an interview where Ewan McGregor did star in Ridley Price car on Top Gear. He'd just done the biking around the world thing, and he talks about Star Wars, the fact that his uncle, being Dennis Lawson, was in the original trilogy, and he went, we went to go see it. It was the Star Wars that Uncle Dennis did, and the ones he did were the ones he did, and he looked at them with, especially when he brought his family on set for his last day, and it was him on a blue box, and he's always had that lasting memory. And now he has the camel. He was talking about in his recent interview, I think it was on Graham Norton, and he is just so much more full of joy. I think it's given him the Star Wars experience that he deserved and Hayden deserved, and now you have them. Hayden, I think, out of everyone, looks the most relieved that finally that he's been accepted. And now with this, I think he's now been brought up a peg as well. And it's just been, from start to finish, stories you didn't expect, characters you didn't know, to stories that will now live on forever as peak Star Wars. And yeah, I absolutely loved it. I don't want there to be another one. I don't. I want to leave it here. This is 6 episodes done. Yep. I don't want this to be more, because I was watching it with my girlfriend. She was crying at the speeches and crying with me at all moments. And when after it leaves open for more, and she was like, "Oh, really? Why would you not?" I went, "This has been done perfect. This gives you the out. This gives the closure, but it also gives new birth. It gives everything. It's done right. You add more here, and you risk diluting and disdaining what you've already done. This is perfect. Leave this as their Star Wars, and I don't want any more, because I always want to be left wanting more rather than wishing they'd done less. And this is that moment where I do want more, and I'm glad that I don't think they will."
So as a full series, I have really enjoyed it. I think for me, the main component of this that has been the best thing has been the performances. I think everyone has done, the established cast, the new cast. I think everyone's done such a good job in crafting these characters. Helping us, continue our love for ones that we already knew and falling in love with new characters. And I think for me that's really important. I think as an overall thing, I probably wouldn't say it's my favorite Disney Star Wars media. I would definitely put Rogue One and definitely Mandalorian above it. If for me, I think I may find the series different when watching them back to back. For me, I think that it did seem like it did feel a little bit like a bit of filler, like not to the extent of large series where they have like 5 episodes in a row of filler. But for me, it did, again, it's what I said earlier about it seemed like perhaps there was a potential movie script and that it had to be drawn out. And although I think they did well with using that time to develop the characters, for me, it was a bit of a back and forth where it's like, right, okay, I'm ready to get on to the next thing now. So I'm hoping that by watching them back to back, that might help alleviate some of those issues for me. But no, like with regards to the comment as well from the person, I think the thing about Star Wars is that there's always going to be a new story. There's always going to be something new happening. But there's nothing wrong with going back and seeing what else is in there, because there's so much just within one character's story at one point in time. We've seen what happens, when you do things like a Clone Wars or a Rebels, and you kind of, interact with characters at a specific point in time. There's so many stories there. So I think the argument that people are having about this series about, oh, we're going back to this person and why are we doing this? All this other stuff is happening. We've seen it. The announcements have happened. All these new stories with all these with new characters are going to be happening. That's all going to happen. But we have an opportunity, whilst we have so many of these people around, and the opportunity with this, with this, the money, but with the technology to craft these stories. So why not do it? And when we said about that article earlier, someone said, "Oh, there's too much Ewan McGregor," and it's like, how is that even possible? And I think, especially if he'd been a bad performer, then maybe, but he's absolutely not. And I think that's the key thing here. If it was bad and consistently bad, then I think that of course you could comment like that. But I think everyone has done such a good job, and we've said it with Ewan, we've said it with Hayden. Vivian, so young yet, has made so many people around the world fall in love with a character that they already loved, and that's a very difficult thing when you use a different cast member as a character, especially if it's live action. So I think as an overall product, they have done a really great job. And I can't wait to do what you said, George, and watch it, interspersed with Revenge of the Sith and Rogue One and A New Hope, and to tie those things together. But no, it's a shame it's over. I don't want a second series of this. I would be fine with checking in another way, or if it was like an episode each around different characters, and you checked in with Obi-Wan in like 5 years' time or something. I don't know. That for me, that would potentially be fine. But I don't think you can have another Obi-Wan Kenobi series, because I don't know what you would do there. Really, I think this was it. But yeah, such a great effort from everyone, and it's just been lovely to have this opportunity to watch it, to take this stuff in. And I think to say to people who may say, oh, it doesn't do anything new or exciting, well, it's doing a lot of things. Like, it doesn't have to be having so many like cliffhangers and whatever, but there's these new characters and the interactions to create different parts of people's personalities and to show them off. So really love that. And now it's just nice to have a bit of a break before we get more Star Wars, which is not too far away.
No, 100% that. And I want to say just to you three that's been on this with me, doing these last few weeks, I know, Sam, you're quite new to the channel still, especially getting for Star Wars, but obviously Dave and Phil have done this for years. It's just been amazing discussing these with you guys. I'm not going to get emotional now. But, we spoke for years about Ewan coming back. And, Sam, when we first got to know each other last year, there's that prequel connection that we got, and it's just been an amazing time discussing this with you guys and people that have been commenting each week as well. We really appreciate these comments, getting your opinions of them. Even if you don't agree and you've got a dislike of it or whatnot, it's absolutely fine. We enjoy, listen to, and one of to me the beautiful things of Star Wars is that yes, I enjoy most of it and like most of it, but for the stuff I don't like, I'm always really curious and excited by why people like it, why I might not. Reading other people's opinions is so important to me with this franchise. And Phil, although I'll mock you with the books, there's me reading books now and things like that. So, it is just one of them. It's been really exciting doing these over the last few weeks. And I couldn't pick any other people to have done these with on this channel, to have fun, to have excitement with it. No tears, no fighting, just, it's what we love about Star Wars. And if you look at channels like, Ken Knapsack, it's about what we love about these things. And it's so much more enjoying it to discuss it with the people that share those thoughts. And it's just been amazing to talk this all with you all. And as that sort of rounds out our Kenobi stuff, as I said, comment your thoughts. If you've enjoyed the show, if you've not, all that kind of stuff. We do reply to comments. We've been going over 2 hours. So if you're watching this on demand, to leave them in the chat. Or you can drop us a DM on our social medias. That's at cinema_savvy, Twitter and Instagram, Facebook and letterboxd.com/cinemasavvy. We've got a Redbubble store now. I foolishly didn't bring the merch. You might see a bit of a change in my room, actually, as a merchandise thing. Not Cinema Savvy posters. I have, from America, arriving yesterday, the official Obi-Wan Kenobi full-length poster, which will be my new autograph project. That will go up on the wall. Rightfully in between episodes 3 and 4. So that's going to be up in the next couple of weeks on the channel. And as I said, Sam, sorry, you said it. Star Wars isn't going away. It's coming back soon. And we've got Andor starting on August the 31st. Obviously, that's going to get covered on this channel. And there's a bit of a tease. I was just playing around today. We already have a thumbnail template for you all. So obviously, we'll be doing discussions on listen, there's going to be 24 episodes. We're going to get 2 seasons of it. We're going back to the Senate. Of course, it's going to be the photo. So, yeah, if you're a fan of Star Wars, please do hit that subscribe button. We're not going away. That's going to be the most politically motivated Star Wars show today. I'm so excited to delve into some more Star Wars politics because, who would have thought of people hating the prequels? And a lot of people actually loved it. So, as I said, Star Wars spoiler discussion is not going away anytime soon. A lot of other Star Wars stuff happening. So please do hit the subscribe button. And if you're maybe not just a Star Wars fan, you're a fan of film, obviously we do a lot of film stuff. We're currently working our way through a Steven Spielberg retrospective. And next week, we have Hook. Sam spoke about it earlier. Sam joined us for that one. So it is pre-recorded, people. We've also got the other team from Really 007 podcast on there, bringing them back on. We've got John and Tom. So if you're a fan of Hook, you're a fan of Steven Spielberg, do check it out next Tuesday, 8 p.m. It will be up on the spot. And I'm not just saying it because Sam's there on the screen. It was a fantastic discussion, and especially getting to your memories with it as well. So, yes, that is all I'm going to say. Dave, where can people find you? Your channel, everything. Same with you, Phill, after.
Like mostly here. I'll just be about, just hanging about like a bad smell. So no, if you want to, you can follow me over at my YouTube channel, which is The Life of Brian, model builder, and currently working on the Ghostbusters Ecto 1. Also follow me at The Dave Brian, which is my Twitter, which is basically just my little thoughts on life and normally what movies I'm watching as I'm trying to get through all of the Oscar Best Picture winners this year.
Indeed. So for me, you can find me on TikTok at Phill009, which is where I put my D&D, Magic, and Star Wars and all sorts of random stuff on there. I have my Firecast Focus X-Wing stream. Next stream will be tomorrow night. So Friday night. We've just done UK Nationals, which I played in. We've streaming that. We've got our look at the X-Wing Team Championships now coming up, which I am playing for the Irish national team. My friend and co-host is playing for the Irish team and the English team. So we have us three hosts playing for nations. And then you can also find my Magic stream for EDH for Dummies, which is on Tabletop Unlock and Logan's channel as well. Everything's on my TikTok or on the socials, so you can find me at various places. And of course, the one thing I'll say to Sam on this point is welcome to what is essentially the Once the Force family.
Oh, thank you. No, I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
That's right. And Sam, where can people find you as well? Sorry, I should have said that. I felt really bad then. I was naughty about it.
No, it's fine. So, so I'm on Twitter at SamR_1995. I usually share mostly James Bond related things, but occasionally RuPaul's Drag Race related stuff on Star Wars. So, potentially Power Rangers as well. But also, I have my YouTube channel, which is just Sam R, and most of my recent videos have been James Bond related. But if you go back a bit, you'll find actually quite a lot of Power Rangers and Super Sentai videos, which I don't do anymore, but potentially go back to in the future. Who knows? But yeah, all that stuff there. And then I contribute to like the License to Queer website by writing articles about James Bond. And yes, occasionally guest on a Really 007 podcast as well. So I'm floating about different places, just happy to be here. So that's the main thing. So yeah, thank you so much.
No, happy to get you on. You've jumped on a few of these, so we wanted to get everyone on for this finale, which has been a great discussion. So once again, thank you everybody at home for watching, for you guys commenting along, for you guys joining me on this live stream tonight. It's an absolute pleasure the last few weeks, and I cannot wait to see you on the next one. So take care, and may the Force be with you.